which can be applied to bring anything to become relevant and meaningful and useful, is the tool of the mind. One's uniqueness does not lie in anything but the way you think. There are three things that you need to have. That is the ability to be creative, the ability to be innovative, and the ability to be inventive. And these three things can only be achieved through psychic abilities. So the ability for the human mind to generate thoughts is what we call thought creation, and this is what a lot of people in this world are engaged in. Change the way of your thoughts and you change the way of your experiences. Welcome once again to yet another wonderful edition of our live streaming. Today, I promise you, is going to be very wonderful, very educative, and very, very informative. Today, what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about the human psyche. One part of the human body that has been studied by many experts and many specialized people in this field in terms of its functionalities and how human beings can benefit from it to its utmost best. But before we proceed with today's session of live streaming, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all our faithful, sincere viewers for your time, your dedication, your effort to ensure that you assist us to keep this station running or to keep this program going. I want to say thank you, and we are highly, highly grateful to you and for everything that you have been doing. I also want to promise you that going forward, we'll be coming up with more informative and educative programs that would help collectively elevate our consciousness to the level that will be well equipped and capable of handling the stress, which I call stress-demic, that is to befall our generation in the latter part of the golden age. So I want you to stay tuned. And that's one thing I'll ask of you, is to talk to people to subscribe, and to share our links for people to subscribe. You know our ultimate objective. Our ultimate objective is to educate as much as we can, stuff as much as we can with the relevant, adequate information that will make people well prepared and well informed to be able to withstand the perilous times that we are about to experience. So please do well to share the link and talk to people to subscribe, to come and learn. Tell them there is something they need to know, something they need to understand about themselves, about life, and where our planet is going towards. So please do so that we help as much as souls that we can. Probably you may not be able to sit here and talk, but when you introduce somebody or you share the link to somebody for somebody to subscribe and learn, indirectly, you're also teaching the person. So thank you for your time and your contribution. Today we want to talk about the psyche, the human psyche. No, we are not going to enter into the nitty-gritties of the scientific, empirical evidences of the functionalities of the human mind back and forth here and there. Though, as the program goes on, as the streaming goes on, some of these subjects will filter through, but that will not be our main focus. That will not be our main attention. Our attention will be structured or founded on the functionalities of the human mind, how the human mind is constituted metaphysically, because we are looking at the metaphysical aspect of the human mind and its functionalities in terms of the metaphysical functionalities of the human mind, and how best we humans can take advantage of these abilities that we have been endowed with, irrespective of its limitations. The problem we have noticed is that there are lots of people who misconstrue the functionalities of the human mind. One, two, there are some category of people who also think they are applying the abilities of the human mind, the psychic abilities, which they are not. And three, there are those who are not even aware that the mind can be used as a tool for prosperity and for progress. So their minds are on autopilot, and their minds are behaving, gallivanting, whichever direction it so pleases and chooses. So these people are controlled by the mind. So now we are looking at the psychic abilities and how to harness these psychic abilities for your good, for the good of your family, spouse, siblings, community, and the world at large. So what is the psychic ability? When we talk about psychic abilities, metaphysically, we are talking about invisible, suppressed, latent powers that has been endowed to the human mind to be able to function in a particular way, to be able to produce certain specific results based on how it is programmed. So literally, the mind must be programmed. That is the underlining word. Our psyche must be programmed for it to be able to produce certain results in certain pattern. That means that when you leave your mind void, vacant, and unattended to, the mind will be on autopilot, generating its own ideas and generating its own functionalities. And then at the end of the day, if these functionalities of the mind, which is on autopilot without your control, is not conducive, it brings hurtful experiences. So it is very important for us to learn about the human mind. And unfortunately, this is one part of our personality that has been neglected and relegated for far too long, and attention has not been paid to it. Most of the elites in society, most of the people that you see them control affairs, be it politically, scientifically, socioeconomically, religiously, spiritually, these are people who have taken time to learn about the human mind, the faculty of the psyche, and the abilities it possesses, and how to apply and to utilize this ability for their ultimate good and for their ultimate benefit. And this aspect of the human mind, majority of the people have been neglected. That is why it is a very scarce subject to have when you go to school to talk about the human mind as a subject. You don't get it in schools. If you are supposed to function on the human mind, if the human mind is supposed to be the base on which all human beings are supposed to function, why is it that the human mind is not a subject that is treated? Because for you to function properly in this manifest world, you need to know how to use your mind properly. So, in my opinion, I believe that if the human mind is that important and that relevant for the survival and prosperity and progress of the human race, then it should be a subject in every school. Every educational institution should make it a subject to be studied in details, not just the various parts of the mind, but that mind should be studied to the level of its metaphysical functionalities, so that we can harness those metaphysical abilities for the ultimate good of every human being. But obviously, we know why it will not be studied, or why it is not being studied, because those institutions were not designed ultimately for the collective good of its participants. The institutions were designed to program and to indoctrinate people to think in a particular fashion and in a straight-jacketed way, so that they'll be fit for factory hands, or supervisors of various factories, or leaders of various factories and institutions and organizations. Because when you're able to, not to talk about spirituality, but when you're even able to develop the human mind to some extent, you'll be self-reliant and self-dependent. And that will make you a very unique person in society. Because your uniqueness does not lie in anything but the way you think. I repeat, one's uniqueness does not lie in anything but the way you think. The pattern of your thought determines your life experiences and what you go through in life. So today we want to talk about the mind in details, the psychic abilities in details. When you're looking at the metaphysical aspect of it, we are looking at the psychic abilities of the human mind. Before we proceed, I want to read a short testimony or a short admonition from one man who I admire so much, by name Dr. Joseph Murphy. He wrote about the subconscious mind. And this is what he said. He says that, I have seen miracles happen to men and women in all walks of life, all over the world. Miracles would happen to you too when you begin using the magic power of your subconscious mind. This is what Dr. Joseph Murphy said. I will take it again. He says that, I have seen miracles happen to men and women in all walks of life all over the world. Miracles will happen to you too when you begin to use the magic power of your subconscious mind. This is what Dr. Murphy said in one of his books. He's a wonderful, splendid writer on the subconscious mind, that is the functionalities of the subconscious mind. So today we are going to look at the mind in details. Please stay tuned. Invite other people to listen to the program. Let them, teach them, to direct them to come and subscribe. Share the link to other people for them to come and learn about their mind. Well, the truth of the matter is, everything you are going through in life is shaped by your mind. Everything. There's no single thing that your mind never shapes it. And I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to give you examples, and you understand why the mind is critical when it comes to our human physical endeavors or physical experiences. Now, when we talk about the human mind or the psychic ability, which I'll prefer to use the term psychic abilities in replacing the human mind or functionalities of the human mind or the mind functionalities. So when we talk about psychic abilities, which are the abilities of the human mind, we have two forms of abilities. We have the normal abilities and we have the paranormal abilities. And all lies within a process of energy which is being generated from the mind state. That is why the Bible says that as a man thinketh, so is he. You are determined, your life pattern, whatever you're experiencing in life, is determined by the kind of choices you make and by the kind of thoughts you have. Now, I want us to take our Bible to Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. Proverbs 23, verse 7. Proverbs 23, verse 7. Proverbs 23, verse 7. The Bible says that, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he unto thee, but his heart is not with thee. So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Why not in his mind, but in his heart? So we are going to talk, that's why we are talking about psychic abilities. When they talk about the heart, they are not talking about the figurative heart or the ordinary heart you see pump and suck blood. Okay? The heart here is in reference to a metaphysical mind. Okay, a metaphysical mind. Now let's go to the book of Mark chapter 11, verse 23. Mark chapter 11, verse 23. Mark 11, verse 23. Mark 11, verse 20 says, verily I say unto you, whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart. So now the heart has been mentioned again. but shall believe that those things which he says shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he says. So now, in the book of Proverbs, it says, as a man thinketh in his heart. And then the book of Matthew also is saying that whosoever shall make a command and shall not doubt, but believe in his heart. So what is the heart? And I've told you that heart is a metaphysical word for a type of mind. Today we want to learn. So call somebody to share the link with them and let them come and learn. And at the tail end of it, stay glued, because at the tail end of it, we are going to give you certain exercises that will help you to activate the latent abilities and potentials of the mind, which is your psyche. So, we have two types of, the mind has two types. We have the normal mind, and then we have the paranormal mind. So when we talk about the normal mind, we are referring to, or the normal psychic ability, we are referring to your conscious abilities or your conscious mind. And then when we talk about the paranormal mind, we are referring to the subconscious mind. Now, it is the subconscious mind which in Proverbs and in the book of Mark, it is called thinking in the heart. Because the heart is more subtle and not active. Now, your conscious mind is more tangible and more obvious. It's more visible in activity. It can be experienced. But, which is the normal mind, the normal aspect of your psychic ability, which is the conscious ability. And then we have the subconscious ability, which is more subtle in nature. Now, this subconscious ability are subtle in nature because it is a dormant force, yet the most powerful energy within your being. So, what is happening is this. It's either you are developing your conscious mind, which is the normal psychic ability, or you are developing your paranormal abilities, which is your subconscious abilities. This must be developed both in a balance before your life can be successful. And the reason why we have suffered as a people, especially the black man, is because this subject is alien in our community. Our churches don't teach about the abilities of the mind. They don't teach us about psychic abilities. Our mosque doesn't teach about psychic abilities. When you go to the monasteries and the temples from the Eastern religions, doesn't teach much about the psychic abilities. All we talk about is pray, meditate, pray, meditate, pray, meditate. But when you pray and meditate within this physical dimension of reality or this physical manifest cosmos, the only tool which can be applied to bring anything to become relevant and meaningful and useful is the tool of the mind. All your meditations and all your prayers cannot translate anything to be meaningful and relevant in this physical consciousness. Whatever is being downloaded through meditation or prayer or through fasting or whatever it is must go through the psyche in order for it to be reprogrammed and processed into manifestation. So, we are going to look at how these things work. Now, have you ever wondered why most people who are glued to only spiritual practices most of the time end up poor or end up in need? Have you asked yourself a question? Go to the Himalayas. Go to those who do renunciation. Go to those who practice, asceticism. Most of them end up having material needs. And go to the nuns. Most of these people depend on benevolence. The only reason why most of these categories of renunciates depends on benevolence and offerings is because they voluntarily have decided not to apply the aspect of their psyche within manifest creation. So once you deliberately, consciously or unconsciously decide not to apply your psychic abilities within this manifest creation, you have a problem. There's going to be a problem, there's going to be a challenge. Because none of these deities, none of these entities, and none of these beings would come to do anything physically in the manifest creation. They always work at the non-physical dimension of reality. So everything they deal with is more subtle. That is why even when somebody invoke a spell against you, the spell would manifest through the orchestration of some kind of physical activity, which is ruled and constructed by the mind, or your intellect, or your psyche. So it is very necessary to know how the mind functions and the natural ability that has been given to the human mind. So now, as we have understood that the human mind or the psychic abilities are in two shades, which is the conscious state shade and then the subconscious state, which is the paranormal state. What are some of the types of the conscious mind, and what are some of the types or some of the abilities of the subconscious mind and some of the abilities of the conscious mind? Let's take the conscious mind, because today we are going to look at the conscious mind. So the activities of the conscious mind, which is thought generation, thinking, visualization, and imagination, is what we need to be successful in this physical reality. The truth of the matter still remains that there are three things that we need in this physical life that will make this physical life comfortable. And if you want to change anything in this physical life, or in your life, in your family, in your business, in your marriage, among your friends, in your home, in your company, there are three things that you need to have. That is the ability to be creative, the ability to be innovative, and the ability to be inventive. And these three things can only be achieved through psychic abilities. To be creative, to be innovative, and to be inventive can only be achieved through psychic abilities. As much as we acknowledge the fact that the data to be able to come up with these three abilities, or to be able to come up with these three giftings, comes from the non-physical reality, which comes from the divine self, which comes from your divine nature, you still need the conscious psychic ability to be able to come out with these inventions, innovations, and creativity. And the reason why people are having issues with their marriages, a lot of people are having issues with their work, with their spouse, with their families, with their friends, is because either they are not being creative with their relationship, with their businesses, with their family, with their friends, with their siblings, or they are not being innovative enough, or they are not being inventive enough on how to handle these issues of life. And to be able to handle these issues of life, you need to be able to deploy the abilities of your conscious mind, which is your normal aspect of your psychic ability. So you need to master the act of thinking, the act of thought generation, the act of thinking, the act of visualization, and the act of imagination. This is the truth, and this you need. And these are subjects which are not treated. And especially on the side of Africa, it is given very less attention, if not zero attention. But this is what makes people become unique. This is what makes people become distinct. And this is what makes people successful. Because whatever information you get from the non-physical reality need to be processed, because they are like raw data. They are like raw data that is not meaningful and useful to our physical existence. So that when you get the data, you need to process the data to become meaningful to our physical existence. And one aspect of your psychic abilities that you use to process this data to make it useful in order to become inventive, innovative, and creative is your conscious abilities of the psychic mind. And this conscious ability, as I've told you, includes thought generation, thinking, visualization, and imagination. Then we have the paranormal abilities of the human psychic abilities. And these paranormal abilities, including clairvoyance, clairaudience, telekinesis, precognition, and all other latent abilities of the subconscious mind, because the paranormal abilities refers to your subconscious abilities. One is subtle and one is tangible. The conscious mind is tangible and active, and the subconscious mind is subtle and recessive. Amongst the two, the most vibrant one is the subconscious mind. Yet the subconscious mind needs activation from the conscious mind. So through thinking, through thought generation, thinking, visualization, and imagination, the conscious mind does activate the subconscious mind. Now, for us to understand it better, let's take an allegory. Let's take a scenario to explain it better so we can understand it. So we are going to look at what is you, which is the divine self, spirit, soul, being. Then we're going to look at what is the mind, the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind, and what is your entire life experiences. Now, let's take you, which is your spirit, soul, essence, okay, as a farmer. Okay, so you are the farmer. Then let's take the conscious mind, which are the thought generation, thinking, visualization, imagination, as the seeds that you, the farmer, is going to sow. And then let's take the soil on which you are going to sow as the subconscious mind. And then let's take the entire farm as your entire human body. Well, it's your entire human body that all this is taking place to tell the story. So you are the farmer. That means your spirit, soul, essence is the farmer. Your conscious mind is the seeds. Your subconscious mind is the soil on which you are going to sow. And your entire body experience is the farm. Now, it is the sole responsibility of you, the farmer, to determine what kind of seed you are going to sow. Because you cannot sow a seed of discord and harvest fruit of harmony. When you sow a seed of discord, you are going to harvest fruit of disharmony. So it is up to you to decide what kind of seeds you're going to sow. Either you're going to sow a seed of discord in marriage or harmony in marriage. Either you're going to sow a seed of discord in business, or you're going to sow a seed of progress in business. Either you're going to sow a seed of unhappiness in your life, or you're going to sow a seed of happiness. Whatever thing you want to experience in this life should be determined by the kind of seed you buy or you determine to sow. Everything you experience in your life, be it marriage, be it children, be it friends, be it business, be it work colleague, be it even physical things like car, home, structure, business, building structure, and everything, is dependent on the kind of seed actions you sow. And these are things we need to know. And they don't teach us because they know once you know these things and know how to apply them, you'll be liberated.
And most of us are having issues with our marriages. Most of us are having issues with our businesses. Most of us are having issues with our employees and employers. Most of us are having issues with at our workplaces, with friends, neighbors, and community at large, simply because we have not been trained on how to identify what seed you sow. That's what Bible says, that whatever a man sows, so shall he reap. You can never sow corn and expect to reap rice. You can never sow palm nut, and expect to have coconut plantation. This is the reality and the truth of life. And I can tell you emphatically, without doubt, that more than 70 to 80% of the problems you are facing in your life has nothing to do with the things you think are the cause of your problems. Be it in marriage, in business, in finance, in relationship, among friends, among work colleagues, among your employees and your employer. More than 70 to 80% of the cause of the problems are not what you are anticipating it to be. Shape the way you think, and you shape the way you experience. Change the way of your thoughts, and you change the way of your experiences. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. And your thoughts are constantly shaping your reality. Your thoughts are constantly shaping your reality. There is no single thing that happens in your life that you never created it through your thoughts. And those people will be asking questions why. I'll prove to you why. There is no single thing you experience in your life that you never give thought to it, and you never entertained it, or you never generated it from the thought level. And once you master the aspect of your personality, and then you have a divine connection or mystical connection, life begins to be well organized. So now, let us focus on the conscious aspect of the mind. Well, that is what we are going to take it from. And then later on, if you cannot continue in this video, continue in another episode where we take the subconscious abilities of the human mind, and the clairvoyance, clairaudience, and all those things. So now we are looking at the conscious mind. And what are these conscious mind? These conscious abilities of the human mind or the human psyche are thought generation, thinking, visualization, and imagination. And these abilities, everybody has it, and everybody uses it, be it sane or insane, be it normal or lunatic. We all use these abilities. The problem we have is a lot of people think they think, whereas very few people in this world actually does thinking. I know by now you'll be asking yourself, what do I mean by people don't think? Have you ever sat down to find the meaning of the word thinking? What it means to think? Have you ever sat down to ask yourself what it means to think? Or have you ever sat down to find a dictionary meaning of what it means to think? So you can determine whether you do think or you don't think. A lot of people are engaged in random thought assembling or random thought generation. And we call this random thought generation thinking. And this is the problem a lot of people do have. And that is why most of the time we do not find answers to our problems. And then we have to resort to a counselor or a consultant to advise us on what to do. The difference between you and the counselor or you and the consultant is the ability to think and think right. And these are natural, divine, God-given abilities that was given to us, humanity, to use to survive in this physical cosmos. And when we refuse to use it, you will struggle. If you refuse to implement them, apply them, you are going to have enormous challenges in all facets and aspects of your life. And this is the only reason why majority of the people in this world, be it white, yellow, black, Chinese, Indian, Ghanaian, African, whatever it is, that is why mass majority of the people are struggling with life. I always believe that life was made to be enjoyed and not to be endured. But majority of people are enduring life rather than enjoying life because of the way they function in their psyche. Are you having challenges with your marriage? Are you having challenges with your children upbringing? Are you having challenges with your businesses, colleagues at work? Begin to research and make a paradigm shift in the way you think and see what happens. Whether you believe me or not, for me, I'm here to tell you the truth and what is going to help you. No amount of libation, no amount of bathing with Tamiu, no amount of meditation, no amount of prayers can change your life if you refuse to use your psychic abilities. That is why I like one thing a preacher man said. I think his name, this Nigerian preacher man, Pastor Bishop Oyedepo. He said that pray, think. As you are praying, you should be thinking. To use the word pray, think. Because the truth of the matter is, it is the thought, it's your psychic abilities that determine anything that would happen in your life and to your life. The things that happens to your life or in your life, that even to some extent there's that psychic accommodation. But granted, that psychic accommodation is done at a non-conscious state. The things that happen to your life beyond your psychic abilities permission is less than 5%. Say like spell, say like some incantation, say like some hexes or some juju or voodoo that has been cast against you. It's less than 5%. Maximum 5%. The rest of the things that are happening to you is because you are not meditate thinking or you are not pray thinking. And look, I am telling you the truth. I have friends. I know people. I have come in contact with people, teachers, adepts who are struggling with life because they've glued their life to only meditation and prayer whilst they are not thinking their way through. They are not applying their psychic abilities. So their lives are full of challenges. And this is the truth. You can pray all day long, all you can. You can meditate all day long, all you can. Nothing in your life will change. Nothing in your life will change. That is the truth. Because if there's anything which is going to change in your life, it's going to change through your psychic abilities. The paranormal event or the supernatural event that changes your life is about maximum 5%. And that one, it's even triggered through your psychic abilities. Because if you don't think you have a problem, and because of that you do a particular ritual, that problem will still be there. You do a ritual for supernatural intervention because you thought through your problems and you got to know that you need a supernatural intervention. So still in that intervention, there is the application of the psychic ability. Let's learn to befriend with our psychic abilities. What I am talking about, it's not common sense. Common sense is the carnality. I am talking about the non-physical aspect of your thinking. It's beyond common sense. Because common sense uses observation. Common sense uses, information to act. I'm talking about psychic abilities that act beyond common sense. And that is why it needs to be developed. It needs a training. So what is third generation? I've put in a few things down here as I received it from my intuition. And this topic I'm having with you was a topic that I had the teachings from within. So when I woke up from my inner experience, I wrote them down quickly. So what is third generation? So before, let's talk about what is this psychic ability. I explained some. These are the unusual potentials and capabilities of the human mind. These are psychic abilities. The unusual potentials and capabilities of the human mind. And as I told you, these unusual abilities and capabilities of the human mind in terms of its functionality is divided into two. We have the normal, which is the conscious mind, and then we have the paranormal, which is the subconscious mind. Now we are dealing with the conscious mind. Now, the main activities or the main abilities of this conscious mind, as I told you, one is third generation. And this is where majority of humanity operates from, and we call it thinking. We operate from this level of random thought generation, and we see this random thought generation as thinking, and we perceive it as thinking. And that is the only reason why a lot of people can't find solutions to their problem. Because if you are really thinking, you will really have solutions to your problems. Be it financial, be it marriage, be it children upbringing, be it business, be it relationship, be it colleagues at work. If you're really thinking about the problem, you would have solution. God, through the universe, would not deny you of solutions when you are really thinking. Now, the only reason why we don't find solutions to our problem is because most of us do not think. It's because most of us do not think. So what is thought generation or thought creation? This is the ability for the human mind to generate thoughts we call ideas. So the ability for the human mind to generate thought is what we call thought creation. And this is what a lot of people in this world are engaged in. And we mistake it to be thinking. So let me give you a scenario. An example of thought creation, or the ability to create thought, which is common to all humanity, is you are there, and then there's a problem in your company, or there's a problem. Let me use marriage as a classical case. You have issue with your husband is behaving funny, or your wife is behaving funny, or let me use the word, your spouse is behaving funny. Based on the actions of your spouse, you begin to have random thought generation. Hey, what if he goes to get another wife? Or what if he goes to get another woman? Or what if he goes to get another man? What am I supposed to do if he gets another? If you bring the woman in the house, will I fight the woman? If I get to know, or I'll go to his phone, see his phone, check his number. I'll trail him to his work. I'll get a detective to follow him. All these things are random thought generation or random thought creation. They are not thinking, but we see this as thinking. So majority of people engage in random thought creation, where different ideas come to our minds of its possibility of being good or being bad, being helpful or being injurious. And in this box, a lot of people are trapped in this cage, and we think it's thinking, or we consider it as thinking. But that is not thinking. That is what I was told is called thought creation. Because our mind is a receiver of ideas. As Nikola Tesla puts it, our mind is a receiver of ideas, it's a receiver of knowledge. So thought keeps coming to our mind, and our mind is constantly receiving thoughts or creating thoughts. There are two ways to which our minds have thoughts. We have the thought generation and thought receptivity. So what is thought generation? The mind have stored information over various experiences and natural encounters in life. So when these experiences tends to play out, which is synonymous to an event which is happening, the mind then begins to generate possible thoughts or possible ideas, which is synonymous to that which is happening. So that is thought generation. Example is, you driving on a highway, and first police stopped you and they check your license, and they tell you that the license has expired, and it gives you warning to go and fix the license. Then you drive ahead, then you get to the next police barrier. Then that police barrier also stops you, check your license, and tells you that the license has expired. Make sure you fix it, or next time you'll be arrested. And then you get to the next police station, and then you are stopped. You are given a warning. Then you go and fix your license. You have gone to rectify the situation of your license. 2-3 months later, or some couple of days later, if you are driving and you get to the same path where the police people stop you, at every barrier, that thought of your license, whether it is renewed or not, will come up your mind. So there will be that thought generation. They will request for my license renewal. You get to the next one, that thought generation will come. This is how thought generation is done, or thought creation comes about, because of the previous experiences that your mind have stored it in its memory. Likewise, you are in a company and you saw a friend talking to your supervisor. After a few minutes, your supervisor calls you and queries you, asks you questions, and then tells you that this your friend has reported you. Then another time, similar thing does happen again, and these things happen for about 3 or 4 consecutive times. After some time, if you see this friend or perhaps any other colleague in your office talking to your supervisor and they look at you, there will be a natural thought generation that there is a report which is being made about you to your supervisor, which may not be true. Why are you having this thought generation? You are having this thought generation simply because your mind have stored these experiences. And these abilities used in the right way can lead to innovation. Something you have seen somebody do over a period of time, your mind can generate a better version of what the person has done. We call it innovation or reinventing the wheel. And then we have what you call thought receptivity, where your mind operates in its natural neutral capacity and receives ideas from an unknown source. We call it thought receptivity. So it's either your thought is generating ideas or receiving ideas. So sometimes you will be there. Maybe probably you are doing some work, or you have a challenge, you have an issue at the office, you have a presentation to make, you have some, sermon to deliver and all those things. And you thought your mind through, scan through all the stored information on what to say or what to do, and you find nothing. And in the quiet of your time, then an idea drops in, do this. And at the moment you go and do it, the problem is solved. That is thought receptivity. It comes from unknown source, which is your divine higher self. Nikola Tesla calls it a core. C-O-R-E. A core. And it is in this region that a lot of people are trapped. A lot of people are trapped in this region. Very few people engages in thinking. And these few people who engages in thinking are the problem solvers in society. So you realize the mass majority of people, when they are confronted with a challenge or with a problem, be it in their marriage, in their work, or whatever it is, the next thing they do is that they run to a friend to complain to a friend. Why? Because they don't have the ability to think, or they have not developed their conscious psychic ability to think. So anytime he has a problem with his husband, he will run to a friend to complain, for the friend to advise. Anytime he has a problem with his wife, he will run to his confidant to complain to the confidant, for the confidant to explain. Why? Simply because that person has not developed him or herself the ability to think. So random thought comes in. Random thought is being generated. And as more random thought is being generated, they become confused. And then they have to solicit for somebody's intervention in terms of reasoning. So then this brings us to, what then is thinking? And why do I say a lot of people doesn't think? Or why do I say a lot of people doesn't know how to think? Now, what then is thinking? I put here, as I received it, thinking is the ability for the human mind to process ideas generated through the thought energy. I'm just reading exactly as I was taught inside, and I wrote them down. Thinking is the process for the human mind to process ideas generated by the thought energy. So when your thought energy generates idea or creates ideas, it is through thinking that you process the idea to be meaningful and to be useful to your life. In thinking, the mind must be able to come up with conclusive, implementable, and concrete solution to manifest the thought idea. So whatever idea your thought generates or your thought creates, when you are thinking truly about that idea, be it good, bad, or ugly, you should be able to come up with a conclusive, implementable, concrete solutions. This is what thinking does. Thinking enables you to come up with a conclusive, concrete, implementable solutions to your ideas. Once you are able to come up with concrete, conclusive, implementable solutions, then your ideas can be manifested. And this is where a lot of us fail and a few people pass. And that's why very few people are able to turn their lives around. How do you do all these things? You need to train the self. You need to train the mind. You need to train the intellect, because the mind is like a tool that needs to be sharpened and be used for your own collective good. And this is where a lot of people cannot function. So a lot of people are in despair and are in distress. Marital despair, business despair, relationship despair, friends despair, family life despair. You don't need a lot of miracles in your life to be happy. All you need is right thinking, right understanding of your psychic abilities and how to implement them. You must master the personality. If you don't talk about our emotions, we'll come to that. And how they align in synergy to produce results in our lives. And if we are to use our human mind, which is one of the highest tools, not one of the highest tools, the human mind is the highest tool given to the self to depend on, to be able to translate data into meaningful information for the application in this our physical reality. Why is it that the development of the mind is not taught from the fundamental level of education, from the basic level of education, to secondary or tertiary institutions? And our world is struggling, and we're having a lot of challenges in our world. It's because people are not using their mind rightly. People are not using their psychic abilities rightly. People are unable to harness the abilities of their psyche rightly. And that is why we are having a lot of challenges. That's why we have a lot of police stations. That's why we have a lot of prison yards. And they're building bigger prison yards. Because when a man's thinking is wrong, everything he does is wrong, even including the implementations of the principles as ascribed in the Holy Scriptures. I repeat again, when the psychology of a man is wrong, everything he does becomes wrong, including the implementations of the principles as ascribed in the holy books like the Bible, the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gita, because his thinking is wrong. His psyche is wrong. So the first point of call is for you to shape the psychology, the psyche of your children, the psyche of our generation. And this is where we are failing, especially as black people. And look at the life of blacks. It's same everywhere. Talk about Caribbean, talk about Jamaica, talk about Africa, it's same everywhere. Why is it so? It is
the way we think. As a man thinketh, so is he. There's a problem with the paradigm of our thinking. And when there's the need and there's the call for a proper, structured psychic development curriculums infused into all the basic and secondary up to the tertiary level in our education curriculum, especially in Africa. But the truth of the matter is, there are different levels of psychic trainings. There are different levels of exercises in terms of personality. We have the basic ones, we have the intermediate one, and we have the advanced ones, which can be fixed at the basic level, at the secondary level, and at the tertiary level. So by the time they graduate from school, we have well-thinking people. Well, why would you become a leader of a nation? The nation is broke, okay? And then you go and take money and go and keep the money in a foreign bank in a foreign country whilst your banks are broke. And then you same people turn around and collapse these banks. Doesn't make sense. How would you be made head of an institution? And especially a sensitive institution like a health sector, made director general of an institution like that. And then medicines and things that have to be used for the well-being and the health of the people, you divert them. You inflate the prices to the government and then inflate the prices in terms of sales. What is wrong? What is wrong with the people is their psychic abilities. It is not well aligned. Their personality is porous. Because all they think is life is all about money. How on earth can you be paid as an officer of the law, stand by the roadside and go with the agenda of taking money from innocent citizens? There's something wrong. Don't we see that? And this is across Africa. It's not peculiar to my nation, Ghana, where I stay. But it is across Africa. But go to some countries, other nations, where psychology and philosophy has been strategically embedded into the curriculum. Critical thinking has been embedded into curriculum, where their psychic has been well shaped. And look at how their police officers behave. Look at how their law enforcement agencies behave. When you go to their various offices, look at how their system works. So if our nation wants to change, our continent wants to change, it's about time we make it a compulsory subject in all the various phases of our educational system. Be it basic, secondary, or tertiary. So by the time we come out of school, we'll be well shaped in the way we function and use our psychic abilities. And this is the problem of many people. It's not about bathing with them. How many libations have you not poured? How many ritual baths have you not made? How many spells have you not cast? How many prayers have you not made? That's why it is said, the mind is the greatest friend if trained and controlled, but could be your worst foe and worst enemy if not trained and controlled. All these hours of prayers, all night, I don't want to mention group names. They've been praying all night. Different groups praying all night. Fireworks, 21 days this. Then we come to other religions. 30 days fasting, this, point like killing cows for certain, why is it that our situation is not changing? If Christians are praying like the Christians in America and in Europe are praying, if Muslims in Africa and Ghana are praying like the Muslims also pray in Saudi Arabia and Dubai and other places, in Qatar and other places, why are their situation better and we are impoverished? I mean, the problem is not with our prayers. The problem is not with our various fasts. The problem is the way we think, the way we apply our psychic abilities, the way we harness our psychic abilities. We do the same thing, but we think differently. We do the same thing, but we react differently. We do the same thing, but we feel differently. And that is the difference between us and other nations. And this can be solved easily. We have tested it and it has worked without fail. This can be solved so easily. And some of the things we talk about are inner teachings we receive from higher spiritual intelligences. And then we need to translate it and write it in such a way that it will be meaningful in this our physical reality for people to be able to implement that. If you want to change your life, focus on the natural, God-given, latent abilities within yourself. And you get solutions. And that, for that matter, very quick ones. You will receive marvelous miracles. As Dr. Murphy said, if you can learn to work and use the abilities of your subconscious mind, you will experience marvelous miracles. They don't want you to know. And that is why they don't make it a curriculum in the schools. That is why they don't make it a subject for you to study in the schools. Because everything you want to make, whether money, car, invent whatever, create money, do whatever it is, it all comes from your psychic ability, the use of your mind. And how the mind connects to the divine self. This is all you need in this lifetime to be successful. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm saying it based on my own experiences and experiences of other people who I've also mentored. I can teach you to tune into your subconscious mind. I can give you, and the process of doing these things, they are very simple, everyday life things. We do it unconsciously. But this time around, we teach you to how to consciously program it. You breathe every day, but we teach you how to do a kind of different types of conscious breathing exercises that in turn begins to program your psychic abilities and harness them. You bath with water every day, but we begin to teach you how to harness the magnetic energy of water when you're bathing. You drink water every day, but we begin to teach you how to harness the magnetic energy of water into your body. These are normal things. These are not fetish or occultic things. These are normal things you do every day. But this time around, we teach you. Everybody visualizes. Okay? Everybody have imagination. And everybody uses these imaginations. But at the level of your personality training, we teach you how to consciously create these imaginations of how you want the life to be, the kind of things you want to possess, the kind of family you want to have, the kind of husband you want to have, the kind of children you want to have, the kind of future you want to have. We teach you to consciously create them, and they become your reality. They become your farm in which you experience those fruits in that farm. If you like, bet with me. Read all the astrological constellations you can ever read in your lifetime. Nothing is going to change in your life. Pour all the libations you want to pour in your lifetime. Wear all the gemstones you want to wear in this lifetime. Wear all the coppers and then the emeralds and the golds and the white diamonds and the diamonds. Wear all the minerals you want to wear in this world. If you do not master the act of creation, invention, and innovation through psychic and personality development, trust me, nothing is going to change in your life. The things that are going to change in your life are more subtle things. But in the obvious world of tangibility, nothing is going to change. Haven't we see a lot of these things? And we keep seeing them every day. We keep seeing them every day. Look at these inventors. They don't wear this jewelry. They don't wear these bangles. Sometimes when I see, they say, we say we are spiritual masters, which are there, and we are wearing a lot of jewelries, a lot of magic rings. What does it do? It doesn't change anything in your life. Yes, the only thing it could do is to give you some kind of 5 to 15% paranormal protection, supernatural protection or something. But to change your life, my brothers and sisters, I'm pleading with you, to change your life, to change your experiences, and to change what you are going through in your marriage, in your family, in your workplaces, you need to develop your personality. There's no amount of astrological constellation reading without the application of the abilities that divinity has bestowed to you that can change your life. If you like, get the best astrologer in this world to read your constellation every day of your life. You need to take the effort. You need to think through your personality. You need to apply your psychic abilities. Because these are predictions. And the only abilities that exist, that has the propensity and the ability to change human life, is the abilities that has been endowed and embedded within humanity. And that is the ability of the personality and the higher self. Nothing else. If they won't tell you the truth, for me, I will tell you. If you take it, fine. If you don't take it, fine. Just reflection. How many of these constellations have you not read? How many of these astrological readings have they not done for you? What has changed? You have to use. It's a conscious awakening. This is the conscious awakening that I'm giving you. If there is anything like conscious awakening, because I don't believe in conscious awakening, because we've always been consciousness in awakening already. We already awakened. We think when they say conscious awakening, they paint the thing as if it's something which is alien, which you are not going to have. It's not alien. It's one of the biggest metrics that you find yourself trapped in. If there's anything called conscious awakening, there's nothing like that. Because you're already consciousness. To be alive and live, think, move, have ideas, generate ideas, you're already consciously awake. How do you apply this consciousness? That is what you don't know. Let alone to talk about the subconsciousness. Maybe probably I should be talking about subconscious awakening, not the conscious awakening. Because the conscious awakening is just the first stage of it. Even if there is anything called conscious awakening. Because there's nothing like conscious awakening, honestly speaking. It's a misrepresentation or maybe improper interpretation of what they were thinking. There is nothing like conscious awakening. Because everybody is consciousness. And God breathed into man, and man became a conscious soul. So once you are alive and you're a human being and you are awake, there's some energy inside you we call consciousness, and that consciousness is alive. So there's nothing like conscious awakening. Let's somebody come and argue with me. Let's come and panel with me that there's something called conscious awakening. No. It is just a realization. It is just a remembering, but there's nothing awakening going on. Because consciousness is already awakened. So how do you awaken consciousness? Because consciousness simply means to be awakened. So how do you awaken consciousness? And you say conscious awakening. All these things are happening because there's an imbalance within your personality. And I'm not telling you these things because I read it from books and all those things. There's a call from where knowledge comes from. Inspiration and strength come from. For we have penetrated that core. Even though Nikola Tesla said he has not penetrated that core, we have penetrated, and we know that that core does exist. And that is the only problem we are having as people, especially with the Africans, with the blacks. That's what the Bible says, that for be ye transformed by the renewal of your thinking. And I like the renewal. That means that the Bible recognizes that the way you are thinking is not the way you should think. So your paradigm of thinking has to be renewed, has to be changed, because you're not thinking. And if you want transformation in your life, you need to renew the paradigm of your thinking. What you think you are thinking, which is not thinking, you have to change it. And that is the only way that will bring you transformation. The Bible also says that do not give pearls to swines. What are swines? Swines are people who don't think. So the Bible is saying that even if you have a spiritual knowledge, you don't give to people who are not thinking. Why? Because they will mess up, they will make a mockery of it. So you realize that everything is centered on your personality. Both the physical and the non-physical is centered on your personality, and the king ruler of your personality is your psyche, is your intellect, it's your mind. Me, I am more interested in we getting out of this predicament we are in. I started this, my social media handle is not even some couple of years. I think it's not even up to 3 years or something, about 3 years thereabout. And if you watch all my videos, I have been consistent on one thing: the realization of the self and the development of the personality. This has always been my focus, because I know that this is what is going to cause Africa to assume its rightful place on the international stage of engagement. So we will not be ridiculed and marginalized as worthless. Other races see the African, the black African, and they see us as worthless. It pinches my soul. They see us as worthless people because of the way we think, the way we act, and the way we react and carry ourselves about. And we can change the narrative. The only way we can change the narrative able to have the right teachings that will enable us harness the abilities of our psyche and align our personality, where we would no longer be dependent, but will be self-reliant. We'll be truly independent people. Because there is no way you can have true independent nations that is constituted with dependent citizens.
How can you have independent nation? So Africa as a continent and countries in Africa has not gotten true independence. Because the citizens in the country that makes up the nation are dependent people. So it is just a branding. It is just a political talk and gimmick to talk about nations' independence in Africa. Africans haven't got independence. Your presidents go to America. So your president goes to the World Bank, go to the IMF for bailout and for budget support. If you want to build infrastructure, we need to go see the Chinese. If you want some other infrastructure or agriculture, we need to go to India or something. Whatever you export come from China or India. Must be dependent on some nation's economy before that citizen would be successful in life. And for us to experience true independence, we must have a particular training system that makes our people truly independent. And that was what Kwame Nkrumah was trying to do. I read that Kwame Nkrumah started what's called Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute. And one of the things my grandfather told me, and I think my father told me, was that Kwame Nkrumah will ask you, pray to God to give you candies. He goes to the schools and then will ask them that pray to God for God to give you candies. And when you pray, that candies doesn't come. When you pray, candies doesn't come. Then Kwame Nkrumah will tell them that ask Kwame Nkrumah to give you candies. And when they close their eyes and they ask Kwame Nkrumah to, and Kwame Nkrumah will throw the candies to them, they didn't understand the personality, the psychology of the personality development Kwame Nkrumah was using. But as at the time, Kwame Nkrumah was trying to align their personality for them to know that humans are responsible for whatever takes place in this manifest creation. And these were the things Kwame Nkrumah was trying to bring up. And they saw it fast that, look, when you allow this guy to put up this at the local institution, these people will have personal independence. And then you know how the story ended. So, as we are having national and continental independence, we don't have individual independence in the continent. So, literally, the nation, the continent Africa, is not independent. Because we don't have individual thinking people. We don't have individual visionaries. We don't have individual visualizing people. We don't have individual imaginative people. That is why even the churches, okay, and all those people, the mosques and all those people in Ghana here and across Africa, they still have to depend on other foreign nations for survival. What is on earth is wrong with us? The church is looking for a foreign church to affiliate with. The mosques here get donation from Saudi and other places. What on earth is wrong with us? We are here. We've never traveled. Not that we have decided not to go. I have gotten a lot of opportunities. I wanted to prove this for myself. I wanted to prove this for myself. And I've proven it for myself. And not only for myself, I have proven it with other people too. Who became sound in thought, in emotions, and in material things before they sat on their first plane outside the country. So it is not something that we are just rhetoricsing. This is not just rhetorics. This is practical knowledge. That if our educational system can allow for these things to be included in the curriculum or the private schools, let's say we are going to channel wonderful, brilliant, independent-minded leaders. To be specific, Ghana, anything we want to do, The next thing we'll be thinking of, either we're thinking of Chinese, we're thinking about Indians, or talking about Europeans or Westerners. We cannot be proud to look internal. That's what the Bible said. At the latter days, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of our days. Knowledge and wisdom does not come from ritual pouring, does not come from ritual libation, does not come from mystical act. Knowledge and wisdom come from psychic development. And we need to wake up as a people. We need to wake up. And we are here in times like this to help. And probably that is why we took this incarnation at this time. And as many as avail themselves, we would help them. You are saying, Fanko Bibia. You are saying, Fanko Bibia. We are here to help people in this incarnation. Not for the love of money, but for the good and total elevation of human consciousness. If it's for the love of money, I would also be taking huge consultation fees, be selling product left, right, and center, forcing my ways to be traveling to other countries to go and give lectures and then make money. Who can tell me that he has ever invited me to any conference that I demanded money, or I take money for a conference, or I finish conference and you give me money and I take? And I don't take money. Not because I'm super rich or I'm rich. It's because I understand why I'm here. Enlightened souls understand why they exist. Money I make, or whatever wealth I make, I'm going to leave everything behind here. Since yesterday till now, what have I eaten? The cost of food that I've eaten since yesterday morning till now is not up to 50 Ghana cedis. That's the cost, the value of food that I've eaten. So we are here in times like this and for such purpose, to help. And in the coming years, the next 10 to 15 years ahead of us, our world will be a totally different place. We're having a totally different experiences. Today, in my inner experiences, they were giving me some of the things that are going to happen. And as I talk to you, in my inner experiences, they were telling me that they are trying every means possible to separate man from God. And they are going to create artificial cloud. And that artificial cloud they want to create is a way of, in their ignorant understanding, they think that artificial cloud that they are going to create will break man's contact with the divine. They were showing all and the kind of technology, how they're going to do the technology and how they shut the thing up and the thing opened, and they showed everything around. But at the end of the day, what happened is that something struck the artificial cloud that they created, and then the cloud fell down and broke into pieces. That's the artificial cloud that they created. And after which they started giving me the teachings. This is what they intend to do, this is what they intend to do, this is what they intend to do, this is what they intend to do. So where we are heading towards, it's really, 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 I call it stress-demic. Where we have pandemic, then I call it stress-demic, because there will be massive stress on people. Depression
expression will be on mass scale. In that time, if you have learned to control your personality, you have learned to control your intellect, emotion, and senses, that is the time you can get yourself organized so that that energy of stress cannot penetrate your space. So that is for thinking. And this is what thinking. And I focused more on the thinking aspect because that is where a lot of people don't function in. From there, we go to visualization. Now that you know how to think, you go to visualization. Visualization is basically creating a detailed pictorial image of your thinking. Okay? Visualization is creating a detailed pictorial image of your thinking. So when you have an idea, you process your idea and you come to a conclusive, implementable, concrete solution. That solution that you come to, you must be able to have a vivid, detailed image of that solution. And you do so through visualization. We teach all in the personality development class. So that you see it clearly in your mind and in details how it's supposed to look like. And then when you've been able to achieve that, you move on to what we call imagination. Now, imagination is giving a life force to that visualized image, because the visualized image is like a body without the breath of life. So just as we were created, God thought about something, had the intention, brooded over the intention, formed man from the dust of the ground, having a vivid image of man from the dust of the ground. All those are allegories. They are trying to tell you how our self functions. And then after that, God has to send a life form, a life force into that imagery. And when he sent the life force into that imagery became a conscious soul. That image had existence. Sorry. So after you create the thought, you generate thought, and you process the thought to have vivid, conclusive, implementable, concrete solution through your thinking, you then have to have a visual image, a visual image or a pictorial, detailed pictorial or visual image of your conclusive idea that is to be implemented. So you should be able to see how it looks like or how it will look like after it is done, vividly and in details. When that has been, then you have to send the force of imagination that is giving it a life force. And the force of imagination that is giving your idea, the process idea, which has been visualized, a life force, is to leave it as though it is, but it isn't. So if it's a business you want to make, you have an idea of a business, you process the idea, you have a definite solutions and conclusion on how the business will look like. Then you have a vivid pictorial image of the business where you set it up, the painting of the place, the machines and everything. When you have done that, then you have to give it an imagination. You have to give it a life force, put life into it so that it will be alive in consciousness. So it will be alive within your being. So you create the imagination where you have come as a boss, you park your car, there are workers at the site or the workers at the company. The machines are working, you walk into your office, people bring documents for you to sign, the accountants send money to bank and all, administrators bring things for you to sign. You are giving the life form to that visualized, processed idea that you have. By so doing, at the level of imagination, you live the life as though it is when it isn't, or when it is not. So though your company has not come into manifestation yet, within your state of beingness, you live as if the company is in existence. When you're able to achieve this, it doesn't matter how long it tarries, it shall surely manifest. Same way applies to your wife, your spouse, the kind of man you want to marry, the kind of children you want to have, the kind of family you want to have, the kind of colleagues you want to have at the workplace. If you can go through this process, you would realize it. to manifest in your life. And this we teach it this is a general description I'm giving, but we teach it in detail, and people have used it to achieve things. People have used it to help their children pass examination. People have used it to buy things. People have used it to get a car. People have used it to do so many things. Who are students? There are even still students in the personality course. Now, when you're able to master this thing, that is when you begin to apply the mystics, then it begins to work effectively. It's when you have mastered this thing that makes your prayer work effectively. That makes your libation work effectively. That makes your holy water bathing work effectively. That makes your incantation and spell work effectively, because they all work dependent on your inner energy. This is the truth I'm telling you. And the only reason why you have been doing all those prayers, you have been doing all those rituals, you have been doing all those spiritual directions, you have been doing all those incantations, you have been doing all those libations, and you still don't have results, is because this is missing. You have not been trained on how to harness your internal energy. And in all of creation, every being dwells on his inner ability, I think, except for man, who externalizes. When you take the eagle, when the eagle wants the food that the eagle will eat for the day, when the eagle goes hunting for his meal for the day, it does not depend on any libation or depend on any incantation or depend on any dwarf, or it depends on his natural ability. It depends on his claws, and depends on his focus, depends on his concentration, and depends on the perception of his eye. And with that, he does it with the fullness of that ability inside of that eagle, and he gets a prey for the day. Same applies to the lion. Any eagle who gets distracted by the external world can never catch a prey. Any lion who gets distracted by the external world can never get something to feed on. That is why when lions want to attack to get a prey, to get a food for the day, they target the animal that separates itself from the group, so that they can focus. Because when the animal are in a group and they rush to attack the animals, this one pass here, this one pass here, this one pass here, this one pass here. So as the animals go divergent ways, they lose their focus and they lose their target. So what they do is that they walk at the distance with the animals, seeking and patiently waiting for the one who would seclude itself, and then they pounce on that one, because with that one they have only one focus, and they depend on every power they have within their being. If you ever watch an animal expedition to Animal's Kingdom, and you see a lion chasing after an antelope or a deer to arrest it, and you look at the shoulders, you realize that he is giving out every energy within his being that he has been endowed with, because that is the only thing that makes him survive. When the eagle want to catch a prey several miles away in the sky, when he decides and focuses on this prey, that this is the chick is going to catch, or this is the fish in the water he wants to catch, or this is the animal he wants to catch, he fixes the claws, projects the claws out, and he comes at it with all his attention and concentration, without any divergent views from the external world. He blends his vision to anything around the target and focuses only on the target. My sister, my brother, if you can experience this thing, and we also have this thing, but in a higher form. Your problem is that you listen to too many people. Your problem is that you listen to too many informations and you don't stay focused. You do not stay focused. I have had a lot of students, some students. Now, all my students, or the people I mentored, the ones that have been successful as the ones who have stayed focused with what I taught them. This when I was talking to one of them, and he's telling me a new project. He has done so many projects, and he's telling me a new set of store building project he's doing for his commercial store facilities. And I said, Charlie, go ahead. Just stay focused. For all those who have been successful were those who stayed focused on the things I've been doing. Because the things I teach, I know they are real. They look slow, they look ordinary, but they harness the highest power in the universe. I know for sure without doubt.
Because there's something I also test for myself, and I know. When I set my mind to do something, I give it all my focus, and all the universe conspire to assist me. And so would happen to everybody who has a connection to the universe and has the connection to the power within himself. The only entity within creation, the only being within creation who always want to externalize for help, is the human race. I'm not saying help does not come from the external world. It does come, but it comes at a moment when it is needed. But the majority of the energy we need is inherent inside of us. So I was telling people in the 3 days to this class that if even you're hungry, and because your body lacks energy and you're hungry, you go in for the banana, or you go in for a particular meal, and your body takes in the meal and assimilates the energy. Your body then depends on the internal energy it has assimilated for much more longer period, until it becomes deficient of the energy again, the nutrient again, then it goes for another one. You don't constantly get yourself connected and be eating because your body needs energy. You become a junkie to food. You become an addict to food. So those external provisions are there. They are good. They are there to serve us. But they come in at certain time to serve a specific purpose, and we have to disassociate ourselves with it and focus on our internal energy, because majority of our time should be focused on our internal energy, and that is where we are going to have our contentment. That is where we are going to have our success. That is where we are going to have our freedom. That is how we are going to have our riches. That's where we are going to have our bliss, inner bliss. But where there is deficiency, then you look for a supplement, which is the provisions that has been provided around us, because the divine intelligence, which is an infinite intelligence, knows that definitely there would be deficiencies somewhere whilst we live in this physical 3-dimensional space within these 4 elements. So he made those provisions available. In the event where there's deficiency, then you use them as a supplement. I have not seen somebody always taking food supplement, because you are not supposed to live on supplements. And all these energies, entities, and other mystical art are supplement provision or supplementary provision that has been made on standby in the event where we lose out on certain energy, or our internal energy gets a little bit deficient or exhausted. Then these energies come in and replenish them. So this is what it is. You need to really and really be careful of the kind of knowledge you assimilate. Thank you very much for your time, and I am very, very grateful for listening to me. We'll come to you again in another session with the paranormal abilities of your psychic abilities. Thank you. Stay blessed, and God bless you.